My sister-in-law kept saying, some of us have real careers. So I didn't mention it when my company hired her and I saw her application. For 3 years, she'd made comments at every family dinner. While I worked as a senior recruiter at TechVault Solutions, she'd tell everyone about her marketing consulting business. The one that operated out of her spare bedroom, the one with 2 clients. Unlike some people who just shuffle papers, she'd say, looking directly at me, I'm building something meaningful. My brother would nod along proudly. Mom would change the subject. I'd smile and pass the potatoes. The thing is, I didn't just shuffle papers. I ran the entire talent acquisition department for a Fortune 500 company. I'd personally recruited 3 executives featured in Forbes. But family dinners weren't the place for that conversation. Then her consulting business collapsed. She spent 6 months applying everywhere, getting nowhere. At Thanksgiving, she announced she was getting serious about her career. I'm only applying to real companies now, she said. Not like those corporate recruiting mills where anyone can work. 2 weeks later, her resume crossed my desk. She'd listed her spare bedroom operation as chief marketing officer. She'd stretched 2 6-month contracts into years of executive experience. The references were her 2 former clients, both of whom had dropped her for missing deadlines. I sat there remembering every comment, every dismissive look, every time she'd made my career sound like a hobby. My assistant knocked. Should I move forward with phone screens for marketing? I looked at my sister-in-law's resume again. Her email had a typo. Wrong dates for her degree. Under special skills, attention to detail. Schedule them all, I said, including this one. The phone screen went exactly as expected. She couldn't explain the gap between her listed responsibilities and actual work. When I asked about her biggest marketing success, she described a Facebook post that got 47 likes. She name-dropped my brother 3 times, not realizing the connection. So when do I start? She asked. We'll be in touch, I said. I moved her to the 2nd round, then the 3rd. Each time I watched her interview through the glass conference room wall. Same suit to all 3 interviews. Laughed too loud at unfunny jokes. Her presentation slides had formatting errors on every page. My boss called me in after the final interview. What's the story with Violet? Your notes say pass, but you keep moving her forward? She's my sister-in-law, I finally admitted. She doesn't know I work here. She spent years telling me I don't have a real career. My boss leaned back. And now I don't know what I'm doing. Here's what we're going to do, my boss said. We're making an offer. Entry-level marketing coordinator, $52,000, no negotiation. And you're calling her with the offer. She needs to know who's been evaluating her. I made the call the next morning. Violet, this is TechVault Solutions. We'd like to extend an offer for the marketing coordinator position. Silence. Then, coordinator? I applied for manager. The team felt coordinator was better suited to your experience level. Wait, who am I speaking with? This is the senior director of talent acquisition. We met during your phone screen. More silence. Heavy breathing. I need to think about this. You have 48 hours. After that, we're moving to our second choice. She called back in 36 hours. Accepted. Asked when she could start. Her first day is Monday. She still doesn't know my last name. Doesn't know I'll be at new hire orientation. Doesn't know my office is on the same floor. Doesn't know her manager reports directly to me. Doesn't know I'll be reviewing her 90-day evaluation. Yesterday, my brother called. Violet got a job at some tech company. Finally, a real career. That's wonderful, I said. This morning, HR asked me to join Monday's orientation as executive sponsor. They want me to give the welcome speech, to introduce myself, to explain the company structure and chain of command. I clicked accept. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable rain. I stood in my office watching water streak down the windows, thinking about how Violet would be parking in the visitor lot right now, walking through the same lobby where I'd greeted the CEO last week, signing in at the same security desk where guards knew me by name. My assistant brought coffee. Big day. Regular Monday, I said. Right. Regular Monday where your sister-in-law finds out you run talent acquisition for a Fortune 500 company. I told my team the situation Friday afternoon. Word spread fast. By end of day, half the floor knew. Marketing director sent me a gift basket with a card that said, "This is going to be good." At 8:45, I headed down to the orientation room. 15 new hires sat at tables arranged in a U-shape. Violet was in the back corner, overdressed in the same suit from her interviews. She was talking loudly to the person next to her about her consulting background. I slipped in through the side door and took my seat at the front table. She didn't notice me. Too busy explaining how she'd turned down multiple management positions to accept this role. HR Director Linda welcomed everyone at 9 hours sharp. She went through the standard presentation. Benefits, parking, IT policies. Violet yawned twice, not bothering to cover her mouth. Then Linda said the words I'd been waiting for. We have a special guest this morning, our Senior Director of Talent Acquisition and Executive Sponsor for this orientation class. I stood up, smoothed my blazer, walked to the podium. Good morning, my name is... Violet made a choking sound. Every head turned toward her. She'd gone completely white, one hand gripping the edge of the table. For a moment, I thought she might actually faint. Are you all right? Linda asked. Violet nodded slowly, eyes locked on mine. I could see her doing the math. The phone screen, the 3 interviews, the offer call. Every single interaction had been with me. I continued my introduction like nothing had happened, explained my role, my history with the company, how I personally oversaw all hiring for corporate positions, including everyone in this room, I said, making brief eye contact with each new hire. When I reached Violet, she looked down at her notebook. I talked about company culture, our expectations, the 90-day review process where I met with each new hire's manager to assess performance and cultural fit. Behind me, the PowerPoint displayed the organizational chart. My name sat 3 levels above Violet's new manager. The presentation lasted 30 minutes. Violet didn't look up once. When I finished, Linda opened the floor for questions. A young man in the front asked about advancement opportunities. A woman near the windows asked about tuition reimbursement. Violet remained silent, pretending to take notes while her hand shook. Anyone else? Linda asked. Violet's hand rose slowly. What's the typical career path for a marketing coordinator? Her voice came out barely above a whisper. This was the same woman who'd laughed too loud during her interview, who'd told my brother she was too good for corporate recruiting mills. That depends entirely on performance, I said. Some coordinators advance to specialist roles within a year. Others, I paused. Others find the corporate environment isn't the right fit. Her hand lowered. Message received. After orientation ended, new hires filed out for their department meetings. Violet lingered, organizing her materials with unnecessary care. When the room cleared, she approached my table. We need to talk, she said. Do we? You knew. This whole time you knew. I knew you applied to my company, yes. And you didn't tell anyone? Not even my husband? Your own brother? I gathered my presentation materials. Why would I tell anyone? You're a qualified candidate who accepted a position. That's standard business. Don't play games. You did this to humiliate me. I did this? I looked at her directly. Violet, you applied here. You listed inflated qualifications. You interviewed poorly 3 separate times. I simply processed your application through our standard hiring procedures. But you knew. I knew you spent 3 years telling me I didn't have a real career. Yes, I knew that. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. Her face went from white to red in seconds. Does he know? She asked. Does my husband know you work here? You're welcome to tell him whatever you'd like, but I'd suggest focusing on your new position. Your manager expects you in her office in 15 minutes. I walked past her toward the door. Behind me, I heard her whisper, "This isn't over." I didn't turn around. Actually, it's just beginning. My office was on the 7th floor. Violet's department occupied the 5th. Same building, same elevator bank, same parking garage. For the next 90 days, we'd be circling each other in this corporate ecosystem where I held every advantage. The thought made me smile all the way to my desk. That evening, my brother called at 6:47. I was still at the office, reviewing candidate files for our Q2 hiring push. Violet says you ambushed her. Hello to you too, I said. She comes home crying, tells me you work at TechVault. You've worked there this entire time and never mentioned it? Why would I mention it? Because she just started there. You could have said something. I leaned back in my chair. When should I have said something? When she told everyone I shuffled papers? When she called my job meaningless? When she said only losers worked in corporate recruiting? Silence on his end. She meant every word. For 3 years, she meant every word. She's upset. She says you interviewed her, made her jump through hoops, then offered her a low-level position when she applied for management. She applied for a position she wasn't qualified for. We offered her the position that matched her actual experience. That's not punishment. That's business. Come on, you had to know she'd find out eventually. Of course I knew. That's why HR asked me to do the orientation welcome. Standard procedure for new hire classes. My brother sighed. This is going to make family dinners really awkward. More awkward than listening to her insult my career. She's sensitive about, I'm going to stop you right there, I said. Violet is your wife. I respect that. But she's also now my employee. And in this building, I'm her senior director. If she has concerns about her employment, she can address them through proper channels. You're really going to pull rank on your own sister-in-law? I'm going to do my job. If she does hers well, we won't have any problems. He hung up without saying goodbye. I wasn't surprised when my mother called 10 minutes later. Your brother is very upset, she started. I heard. Violet says you made her look foolish in front of all those new employees. Violet looked exactly like what she is. A new hire being welcomed to the company. But did you have to be the one doing the welcoming? Couldn't you have asked someone else to handle it? I closed my laptop. Mom, they asked me to do orientation because I'm the senior director. Because it's my job. Because I've done it for every new hire class for the past 4 years. Still, given the circumstances, what circumstances? That she insulted my career repeatedly? That she looked down on my profession? That she assumed I was beneath her? Mom went quiet. She'd been at those dinners. She'd heard every comment. She'd changed the subject every time. I just don't want this causing problems in the family, she finally said. Then maybe you should have said something when she was causing problems at every family dinner. That's not fair. Neither was sitting quietly while she mocked me for 3 years. But here we are. I could hear her breathing on the other end, the disappointment, the discomfort. Mom didn't like conflict. She'd spent my whole childhood smoothing things over, keeping peace at any cost. She's family, Mom said softly. So am I. After we hung up, I sat in my quiet office looking at the photo on my desk. My team at last year's company retreat. All of us laughing after our department won the innovation challenge. These people knew what I did, knew what I'd built, knew my value. My family dinner companions had never asked. The next morning, I arrived at 7:15 to find Violet already at her desk. Through the glass walls of her 5th floor workspace, I could see her hunched over her computer, typing frantically, trying to look busy, trying to prove something. Her manager, Patricia, stopped by my office at 9:30. We need to talk about your sister-in-law. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. Patricia had been with TechVault for 12 years, running marketing operations with ruthless efficiency. She didn't tolerate incompetence, and she didn't play politics. First-day observations? I asked. She spent 2 hours trying to log into systems she doesn't have access to yet. When I explained the onboarding timeline, she insisted she needed everything immediately because of her extensive marketing background. Did she now? Then she asked when she'd be getting her own office. I explained coordinators work in the open floor plan. She said that wasn't what she'd negotiated. I made a note. What else? She corrected my presentation approach in front of 3 other team members, said at her previous company, and I quote, "We did things more professionally. It's been 1 day. I'm aware." Patricia crossed her legs. Look, I don't know the family dynamics here. Don't need to know. But I need to know if you want me to handle this like any other employee or if there are considerations. Handle it exactly like any other employee, I said. Document everything. Standard performance management protocols. If she succeeds, great. If she doesn't, we follow the normal process. Even though she's family? Especially because she's family. Patricia stood up. Good. Because between you and me, she's going to struggle. The role requires collaboration and humility. From what I've seen, she's short on both. After Patricia left, I pulled up Violet's file. Her direct manager would handle day-to-day issues, but I'd be reviewing her performance at the 30, 60, and 90-day marks. Standard procedure for all new hires in my departments. The difference was I knew exactly what to look for. That afternoon, I had lunch with Linda from HR. We met at the cafe across the street where half of TechVault's executive team spent their lunch hours. Your sister-in-law made quite an impression at orientation, Linda said, cutting into her salad. I noticed. The look on her face when you stood up. Linda shook her head. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Patricia says she's already causing issues. Day one issues or real problems? Both, probably. Linda set down her fork. You know I have to ask. Can you be objective about this? Can I be objective about evaluating an employee who happens to be related to me? Yes. Even given the history? Especially given the history. Linda studied me for a moment. The board's watching this. Not because it's you specifically, but because we've never had a senior director in this situation. Family member as a direct report, even several levels down. I understand. If there's any sign of favoritism or vindictiveness, there won't be. I'll evaluate her exactly like I evaluate everyone else, based on performance, culture fit, and potential. And if she doesn't meet standards, then she doesn't meet standards. Linda nodded slowly. Okay, but keep me in the loop. Weekly updates. Anything that seems off, I want to know immediately. Of course. Walking back to the office, I thought about what Linda had said. The board was watching. My team was watching. Violet was watching. Everyone waiting to see how this played out. Good. Let them watch. By the end of week 1, Violet had already made 3 major mistakes. She'd sent an email to the entire marketing distribution list, 2,400 people, that was meant only for Patricia. The email contained Violet's opinions about how the department could be fixed with her leadership. She'd scheduled a meeting room for a team brainstorm session without inviting her actual team. When they showed up anyway, she acted like they were interrupting her important work. She'd argued with IT about her computer specifications, insisting she needed the executive package because of her experience level. IT had called Patricia. Patricia had called me. This is beyond normal new hire adjustment, Patricia said over the phone Thursday afternoon. This is someone who fundamentally doesn't understand her role. Document it all. I'll review at her 30-day. She keeps telling people she's waiting for the coordinator position to be a stepping stone, that she's really here to move into management. Everyone starts somewhere, except she thinks she's starting from the top. I hung up and stared at my calendar. Violet's 30-day review was scheduled for 3 weeks from tomorrow. In that time, she'd either figure out how to do her job, or she'd give me everything I needed for a performance improvement plan. Either way, I'd be ready. That Friday, I ran into her in the parking garage. She was sitting in her car, crying. I almost kept walking, but something stopped me. I knocked on her window. She jumped, wiping her eyes, rolled down the window an inch. What? You all right? Why do you care? Because despite everything, I'm not trying to destroy you. She laughed bitterly. Really? Because it sure feels like you are. I'm not doing anything to you. You're doing it to yourself. Fuck you. I stepped back. Violet, I know this is hard. You don't know anything. You get to walk around here like you own the place. Everyone respects you. Everyone knows your name. Meanwhile, I'm the joke, the sister-in-law who didn't know, the coordinator who can't do anything right. Then do better. How? Patricia hates me. The team treats me like I'm stupid. It won't give me proper equipment. Patricia doesn't hate you. She's managing you like she manages everyone. The team treats you like a coordinator because that's your role. It gave you standard equipment because that's policy. At my company, this isn't your company. This is TechVault. These are our policies, our culture, our standards. Either you adapt or you don't. She glared at me through the gap in her window. I can't believe you're my husband's sister. I can't believe you're married to my brother. But here we are. I walked away before she could respond. My car was on the executive level. Better parking, better spots. I'd earned them over 8 years of excellent performance. As I drove past her car on the way out, I saw her still sitting there, still crying. I almost felt bad. Almost. Weekend family dinner happened at Mom's house, like always. I arrived at 6 gallon with wine and my best neutral expression. My brother's car was already in the driveway. So was Violet's. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Please don't make this difficult, she whispered. I'm here for dinner, same as always. Inside, my brother stood in the kitchen with a beer. Violet sat at the dining table, staring at her phone. Neither acknowledged me when I walked in. Wine? I offered, holding up the bottle. We brought our own, my brother said. Mom took the bottle from me. I'll open this one too. More options. Dinner was excruciating. Every topic became a minefield. Mom asked about work, then quickly changed the subject when she remembered. Dad asked about new hires, not realizing Violet was one. I talked about my garden. My brother talked about a work project. Violet said nothing. By dessert, the silence had weight, pressed down on all of us like humidity before a storm. Finally, Violet spoke. Are you enjoying this? I looked up from my pie. Enjoying what? Watching me suffer, making me look incompetent, turning my own family against me. Violet, my brother started. No, she stood up, chair scraping against the floor. I need to say this. She's been sabotaging me since day one, making me look bad, giving me impossible tasks, turning my manager against me. I haven't given you any tasks, I said calmly. I'm not your direct manager, but you're pulling the strings. Everyone knows it. Patricia said as much. Patricia said you're being evaluated like every other employee. That's not pulling strings. That's standard procedure. You could help me. You could tell them to give me a chance. Instead, you're just sitting back and watching me fail. I set down my fork. I'm sitting back and watching you do your job, or not do it. That's up to you. See? She gestured wildly at me. This is what I mean. She's cold. She doesn't care. My brother put his hand on her arm. Maybe we should go. No. I want her to admit it. Admit you set me up. Admit you wanted me to fail. I didn't set you up. You applied for a job. You got hired. What you do with that opportunity is entirely on you. Liar. Mom made a small sound. Dad pushed back from the table. The whole room felt like it might shatter. I think everyone needs to calm down, Mom said. I'm perfectly calm, I said. You're enjoying this. Violet's voice went shrill. Admit it. What do you want me to say, Violet? That I'm thrilled to watch you struggle? That I'm happy you're miserable? I'm not. But I'm also not going to save you from the consequences of your own behavior. What behavior? The behavior that made you think you could insult me for 3 years and face no consequences. The behavior that made you inflate your resume. The behavior that makes you think you're entitled to special treatment. My brother stood up. That's enough. Is it? I looked at him. Because I've been listening to this for 3 years. I think I've earned the right to finally respond. She's your family. So are you. So is Mom. So is Dad. But that didn't stop Violet from insulting me in front of all of you, repeatedly, and nobody said a word. Mom's eyes were wet. We didn't know it bothered you so much. You didn't know? Or you didn't want to know? Violet grabbed her purse. I can't do this. I can't work there. I quit. Violet, wait. My brother reached for her. No, I'm done. I'm not spending another day in that building with her. Let her enjoy her little victory. She stormed out. My brother followed after shooting me a look that said this was all my fault. The door slammed. Engines started. Gravel crunched as they drove away. I sat in the wreckage of dinner, Mom crying quietly at one end of the table, Dad staring at his plate. You could have been nicer, Mom finally said. I was professional. That's all I owed her. She's family. She's also an adult who made her own choices. I didn't force her to apply. Didn't force her to accept. Didn't force her to behave the way she's been behaving. But now the family is broken. I stood up and started clearing plates. The family was broken when everyone sat quietly while she insulted me for 3 years. This is just the first time anyone's had to see it. I drove home through dark streets, replaying the dinner in my mind. Violet's dramatic exit, my brother's anger, Mom's tears, the way Dad had just sat there saying nothing like he always did. Maybe I should have handled it differently. Maybe I should have been gentler. Maybe I should have warned her before orientation, given her a heads up, pulled strings to make her transition easier. But every time I thought about being easier on her, I remembered her voice. Some of us have real careers, said while looking directly at me, said in front of my entire family, said repeatedly, confidently, cruelly. I parked in my driveway and sat in the dark car. My phone showed 3 missed calls from my brother, 2 texts from Mom, nothing from Violet. I deleted them all without reading and went inside. Monday morning, I expected a resignation letter. Instead, I found an email from Patricia. FYI, Violet showed up this morning. She's at her desk. No explanation for her Friday meltdown. Wanted you to know. Interesting. She'd threatened to quit, made a scene, stormed out of family dinner. But here she was, back at her desk. I replied, thanks for the update. Let me know if anything else develops. At 10:30, my phone rang. Unknown number. This is the Senior Director of Talent Acquisition. It's me, Violet's voice quiet and tight. How can I help you? I'm not quitting. Okay. I thought about it all weekend. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. This isn't about my satisfaction. Sure it isn't. But I'm staying. I'm going to prove I belong here. I'm going to show everyone you were wrong about me. I wasn't wrong about you. I hired you. Silent. Then she hung up. I stared at my phone. This was going to get worse before it got better. Patricia confirmed my suspicion when she stopped by that afternoon. Violet's decided she's staying, but now she's on some kind of mission. She's been emailing ideas to the CMO, going around me completely. Have you addressed it? I pulled her aside, explained the chain of command. She said she was just being proactive. That's one word for it. She also asked when she could present at the executive marketing meeting. I rubbed my temples. She's been here a week. I'm aware. I told her coordinators observe those meetings. They don't present. She said at her previous role, she was always involved in executive decisions. Her previous role was 2 clients in her spare bedroom. Patricia smiled grimly. I'm documenting everything for her 30-day review. Good. Stick to the facts. Specific examples. Times, dates, impacts. After she left, I pulled up Violet's file again. Added notes about the weekend dinner, the Monday morning call, the going around her manager. Patterns were already emerging. None of them good. My brother called that evening while I was making dinner. She told me she's not quitting. I heard. She says she's going to prove herself. Show everyone she deserves to be there. Good. That's what she should be doing. Can you help her? I stopped chopping vegetables. Help her how? I don't know. Give her advice. Tell her what she needs to do to succeed. She has a manager for that. Patricia is excellent. If Violet listens to her, she'll be fine. But Patricia doesn't like her. Patricia is professional. She treats all her direct reports fairly. Violet says she's being excluded from meetings. Violet is being included in the meetings appropriate for her level. My brother sighed. She's really struggling. She comes home exhausted every day. She's stressed. She's not sleeping. That's normal for a new job, especially one that's different from what you're used to. But you could make it easier. How? By giving her special treatment? By telling her manager to lower standards? By letting her skip the learning curve everyone else has to go through? By being human. By remembering she's family. I set down my knife. I am being human. I'm treating her exactly like every other new hire, with professionalism and fairness. What you're asking for is favoritism. I'm asking you to help my wife. And I'm asking you to let her succeed or fail on her own merits. Like an adult. He hung up. Again. I finished making dinner alone. Ate it alone. Cleaned up alone. My house was quiet. Peaceful. No one insulted my career here. No one demanded I perform emotional labor to make their bad decisions more comfortable. The loneliness was worth it. Over the next 2 weeks, Violet's behavior escalated. She started arriving at 7 a.m. and staying until 7 p.m., trying to prove her dedication. But the long hours didn't translate to good work. She created a marketing campaign proposal that completely ignored our brand guidelines. Went around Patricia to send it to the CMO. Got shut down immediately. She volunteered for a client presentation, then froze when the client asked basic questions about our services. Patricia had to take over. The client later called to complain about our unprepared staff. She started a project without approval, wasted 40 hours of work, then blamed Patricia for not communicating properly. When Patricia showed her the email where she'd explicitly said not to start that project, Violet claimed she'd misunderstood. Each incident went into her file. Documented, time-stamped, factual. At the 3-week mark, Patricia scheduled a check-in meeting with Violet. Standard procedure for new hires. A chance to course correct before the official 30-day review. I wasn't in the meeting, but Patricia filled me in afterward. She spent the first 10 minutes defending herself, the next 10 blaming others, the last 5 crying. Did you go through the specific examples? All of them. She had an excuse for each one. The brand guidelines were unclear. The client was rude. The email about the project was ambiguous. Nothing was her fault. How did you leave it? I told her the 30-day review was coming up, that she needed to show significant improvement, that the next 3 weeks would determine her future here. How'd she take it? She asked if you'd be in the review meeting. I looked up from my notes. What did you say? I said that as senior director, you review all 30-day evaluations, that it's standard procedure. And she started crying again, said you were out to get her, that this whole thing was revenge. I told her this wasn't personal, it was business. She didn't believe me. That evening, Mom called. Your brother says Violet's job is in jeopardy. I can't discuss employee matters. She's family. This is different. No, it's not. Please, just tell me. Is she going to lose her job? I stared at the ceiling. Mom, I can't answer that. What I can tell you is that every new hire gets evaluated at 30, 60, and 90 days. If they're meeting expectations, they continue. If they're not, we create a performance improvement plan. If they still don't improve, we part ways. That's the process for everyone. But can't you do something? Give her more time? She has time. She has 3 more weeks before her 30-day. She has resources. She has a manager who's trying to help her. What she doesn't have is special treatment just because she's married to my brother. That's so cold. That's fair. Mom's voice cracked. This is tearing our family apart. Violet tore it apart when she spent 3 years insulting me and nobody stopped her. I'm just the first person who didn't pretend it was fine. We should have said something, I know that now. But punishing her at work isn't the answer. I'm not punishing her. I'm evaluating her performance based on clear, objective criteria. If that feels like punishment, maybe that tells you something about her performance. After we hung up, I poured myself wine and stood on my back porch. The night was clear, stars visible despite the city lights. Somewhere across town, Violet was probably crying to my brother. Mom was probably calling him with updates. Dad was probably sitting in his chair saying nothing. And I was here, alone, right. The 30-day review arrived on a Tuesday. Patricia and I met in my office at 2:00 p.m. Violet's evaluation packet sat between us. 15 pages of documented issues, missed deadlines, and poor judgment calls. I've never had a coordinator with this many problems in their first month, Patricia said. Walk me through it. She did. Every example, every attempt at coaching, every instance where Violet had ignored feedback or made things worse. The picture was clear. Violet was not meeting expectations. Not even close. Recommendation? I asked. Performance improvement plan. 30 days. Specific, measurable goals. Weekly check-ins. If she meets the goals, we reevaluate. If not, we terminate. That's your professional assessment? Yes. Then that's what we'll do. Patricia hesitated. You don't want to, given the family situation. The family situation is irrelevant. If this were any other coordinator, what would you do? Exactly this. Then that's our answer. The PIP meeting happened the next morning. HR required a witness, so Linda joined us. Violet sat across the conference table, hands folded, face pale. Patricia walked through the evaluation, spoke clearly and professionally, listed every issue with dates and examples. Violet's face got redder with each item. When Patricia finished, Linda took over. Based on this evaluation, we're implementing a 30-day performance improvement plan. You'll have specific goals to meet. We'll have weekly check-ins. At the end of 30 days, we'll reassess. And if I don't meet the goals, Violet's voice was barely audible. Then we'll discuss next steps. Linda said carefully. You mean you'll fire me? We'll discuss next steps. Violet looked at me. I'd been silent the entire meeting, sitting in the corner taking notes. You're really going to let this happen? This is a standard performance management process? For your sister-in-law? For an employee who's not meeting expectations? She stood up. The packet of her performance issues slid across the table. You win. I quit. Effective immediately. Violet, wait, Patricia started. No, I'm done. You wanted me out. Congratulations, I'm out. She walked to the door, stopped with her hand on the handle. I hope you're happy, she said to me. I hope destroying my career was worth it. I didn't destroy your career. You did that yourself. She left. The door clicked shut quietly behind her. Linda let out a long breath. Well, that happened. Should I go after her? Patricia asked. No, I said. Let HR handle the exit process. We'll need her to return company property, sign termination paperwork. This is going to cause problems, Linda said. With your family, it was always going to cause problems. This way, it's over faster. I went back to my office and sent a brief email to my boss. Violet terminated employment today. Voluntary resignation during PIP meeting. Patricia has documentation if needed. Then I sat at my desk and waited for my phone to ring. It took 12 minutes. My brother's call came first. What the fuck did you do? She quit. Her choice. After you humiliated her. After you set her up to fail. I documented her performance. She chose to resign rather than improve. Because you made it impossible. You've been sabotaging her since day one. I have documentation for every issue in her file. Times, dates, witnesses, examples. If she wants to claim sabotage, she can review the file with her lawyer. It'll show exactly what I showed her. Poor performance. You're unbelievable. You actually did this. You actually destroyed her. She destroyed herself. I just refused to cover for her. Don't come to family dinner anymore. You're not welcome. He hung up. Mom called 30 seconds later, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Why? Why would you? She was trying so hard. Mom, your own brother's wife. How could you? I treated her exactly like every other employee. If that wasn't enough, that's not my fault. But now she's devastated, and your brother is furious, and the family is falling apart. The family fell apart a long time ago. We were just all pretending it was fine. Don't come this Sunday, please. I can't handle it right now. She hung up too. I sat in the silence of my office. Outside my window, the city continued. Traffic flowed. People walked to meetings. Vendors sold coffee and sandwiches. Life going on, indifferent to personal drama. My phone buzzed. Text from Dad. First one he'd sent in months. Your mother is very upset. That was it. No judgment. No opinion. Just a fact. I didn't respond. At 5 in, I packed up my briefcase and headed home. In the elevator, 2 colleagues got on at the 4th floor. They stopped talking when they saw me. The silence was awkward until they got off at ground level. Word had spread fast. The parking garage was mostly empty. I walked to my car, started the engine, sat in the darkness while it warmed up. I'd won. Violet was gone. She couldn't insult me anymore, couldn't diminish my career, couldn't make me feel small at family dinners. I'd won. So why did I feel hollow? The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Patricia sent a brief email thanking me for supporting the PIP decision. Linda followed up with exit paperwork for my files. HR processed Violet's departure with efficient professionalism. No one mentioned her name. At home, my phone stayed silent. No calls from my brother. No texts from Mom. No family dinner invitation. The silence felt like exile, even though I'd chosen it. On Thursday, an envelope arrived in the office mail, hand-addressed. Return address I didn't recognize. Inside was a single piece of paper. Violet's handwriting. You were right. I wasn't qualified. I wasn't ready. I inflated my resume because I was desperate and scared and broke. I spent 3 years putting you down because it made me feel better about my own failures. I'm sorry I said those things. I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I'm sorry I wasn't good enough for the job. But I'm mostly sorry that you let me fail instead of helping me learn. Family should be better than that. We both should have been better than that. I read it 3 times. Then I filed it with her other paperwork and tried to forget about it. But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about one line. Family should be better than that. Should they? Should I have helped her? Coached her privately? Given her extra chances? Every instinct screamed no. She'd earned her failure. She'd dismissed my career, questioned my worth, made me feel small. She'd deserved exactly what she got. But a small voice in the back of my mind whispered, maybe there was a middle path. Maybe I could have been right and kind. I pushed the thought away and went to sleep. Friday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. I heard about Violet. It was handled professionally. Patricia has full documentation. I'm not questioning the decision. He leaned back in his chair. But I am wondering about you. Me? You've been with us 8 years. Excellent performance reviews. Never a single complaint. But this situation? He paused. It's complicated. It was an employee who wasn't meeting standards. We followed protocol. Agreed. But the optics are tricky. Family member, public departure, timing right after the PIP. Some people are wondering if personal feelings influenced business decisions. My stomach dropped. My documentation is ironclad. Every issue is factual, witnessed, time-stamped. I believe you, but perception matters, especially at your level. So what are you saying? I'm saying be aware. Be above reproach. Don't give anyone ammunition to question your judgment. After the meeting, I sat in my office feeling sick. I'd done everything right, followed every rule, maintained every standard. And now my own judgment was being questioned. Because of Violet. Still causing problems, even after she was gone. That weekend, I drove past Mom's house at dinner time. The driveway was full. My brother's car, my uncle's truck, my cousin's sedan. Family dinner happening without me. I kept driving. At home, I made pasta for one. Ate it while reading work emails. Went to bed early, told myself I was fine, believed it about 40% of the time. Sunday morning, I woke to find my brother sitting on my front porch. I opened the door in my robe, coffee mug in hand. How long have you been here? Hour, maybe 2. You could have knocked. I wasn't sure you'd answer. I sat down next to him on the porch steps. We stared at my quiet suburban street. A neighbor walked a dog. Someone across the street washed their car. Violet's a mess, he finally said. I'm sorry. Are you? I thought about it. Yes and no. He laughed bitterly. At least you're honest. She needed to learn she can't treat people that way. And now she has. At the cost of her confidence, her income, and her relationship with my family. Our family, I corrected quietly. Right. Our family. He rubbed his face. Mom wants you to apologize. For what? Doing my job? For how you did it. I did it by the book. You did it cold. You could have warned her. Could have prepared her. Could have given her a heads up that you worked there. I sipped my coffee. Would it have changed anything? She still would have been unqualified. She still would have performed poorly. She still would have failed. Maybe. But at least she wouldn't feel ambushed. She felt ambushed because she never bothered to ask about my career. If she'd asked once, even once in 3 years, she would have known where I worked. My brother stood up. You're not going to apologize, are you? No. Then I don't know what happens next. Mom's hurt. Dad's disappointed. Violet wants nothing to do with you, and I'm stuck in the middle. You're not stuck. You chose a side. She's my wife, and I'm your sister. He walked to his car, stopped before getting in. For what it's worth, she really is sorry. About the things she said, the way she acted. She wrote you that letter. I got it. And it doesn't change anything. Words are easy. 3 years of behavior means more than one letter. He drove away without another word. I sat on the porch until my coffee got cold, watching the neighborhood wake up. Sprinklers turned on, kids rode bikes, normal life continuing all around me while my family fell apart. I should have felt vindicated, righteous, satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. Monday morning, I arrived at work to find a bouquet on my desk. No card, just flowers. Expensive ones. My assistant poked her head in. Those came this morning. Delivery guy wouldn't say who sent them. I stared at the arrangement. White lilies. Mom's favorite. I threw them in the trash. At 10 o'clock, Patricia stopped by. I hired Violet's replacement. Start date in 2 weeks. Back Background check clear? Spotless. Great references. Reasonable experience expectations. Nothing like, she trailed off. Nothing like Violet. Yeah. After she left, I pulled up the new hires file. Recent graduate, degree in marketing, internship experience at 3 solid companies. Excited to learn, willing to start at the bottom. Everything Violet should have been. The next few weeks passed in a blur of normalcy. Work continued, projects launched, candidates interviewed, the machine of corporate life grinding on. No one mentioned Violet anymore. At home, I maintained my routine. Gym, groceries, Netflix, the occasional happy hour with work friends. It was fine. I was fine. Then came Thanksgiving. Mom called the Tuesday before. We're still having dinner. Everyone's coming. Everyone except me. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Please come, it's Thanksgiving. Family should be together. Should they? She sighed. Your brother will be civil. I've talked to him. What about Violet? Long pause. She won't be there. She's not doing well. Her doctor thinks family stress isn't helpful right now. Something cold settled in my stomach. What do you mean not doing well? She's depressed. She's been sleeping all day, not eating. Your brother had to call her doctor. Mom, I'm not saying it's your fault, but she's struggling, and seeing you would be too hard. I closed my eyes. So I can come if she stays away. I'm just trying to keep everyone safe. Tell her I hope she feels better. Tell my brother I'll skip this year. It's easier. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Goodbye, Mom. I spent Thanksgiving alone, ordered Chinese food, watched football, told myself I'd made the right choices. Believed it about 30% of the time. Friday morning, my doorbell rang at 7 a.m. I opened it to find Violet standing there, looking terrible. Unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, circles under her eyes so dark they looked like bruises. We need to talk, she said. I stepped aside, let her in. We sat in my living room. This woman who'd tormented me, who I'd destroyed, 2 people who'd hurt each other in different ways. I'm sorry, she said. Really, truly sorry. Not just for the job, for everything before, every comment, every insult, every time I made you feel small. Why'd you do it? She laughed wetly. Because I felt small. Because my business was failing and my marriage was struggling and I had nothing to show for my life except a spare bedroom full of rejection letters. So you made me feel how you felt. Yes. And it was wrong. And I'm sorry. We sat in silence. I can't give you your job back, I finally said. I know. I don't want it. I was terrible at it. You could have learned. Could I? Honestly? I thought about her performance. The resistance to feedback. The inability to accept her level. The going around her manager. Probably not. At least you're honest. She stood up. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. For all of it. If I could take it back, I would. Would you? If you could go back 3 years, would you actually treat me differently? Or would you make the same choices because they made you feel better? She considered this. I don't know. I'd like to think I would. But honestly, I don't know. I walked her to the door. I'm sorry too, for not warning you, for letting you walk into that orientation cold. I could have been kinder. Would it have changed anything? Probably not. She almost smiled. At least we're both honest. After she left, I sat in the quiet of my house. 2 women apologizing for hurting each other. Neither quite able to say they wouldn't do it again. Maybe that was as close to peace as we'd get. December arrived with early snow, the office filled with holiday decorations, Secret Santa signups, party planning, festive emails about year-end celebrations. I threw myself into work, reviewed year-end performance evaluations, planned Q1 hiring, reorganized my team structure, anything to avoid thinking about the holidays. Mom called every few days. Just checking in, code for, please come to Christmas dinner. I kept saying maybe. We both knew I meant no. My brother stopped calling altogether. On December 15th, my boss called me into his office again. Promotion board met yesterday. My heart stopped. I'd applied for VP of Talent Acquisition 3 months ago, before the Violet situation, before everything fell apart. And? You're out. They went with external candidate. Because of Violet. No one said that explicitly, but the family situation raised questions about judgment. Your documentation was clean, but the optics were messy. They wanted someone with less complications. I sat very still. I did everything right. I know. Sometimes right isn't enough. Walking back to my office, I felt numb. 8 years of excellent work, countless successful hires, department awards, innovation initiatives, all of it overshadowed by one messy family situation. Violet had taken my family. Now she'd taken my promotion. And the worst part? She hadn't even meant to. That night, I drove to my brother's house, rang the doorbell, waited. He answered, surprised. What are you doing here? Can I come in? We sat in his living room. Violet was upstairs, he said, sleeping. She was sleeping a lot these days. I didn't get the promotion, I told him. I'm sorry. Because of what happened with Violet. Because of the optics. Because even though I did everything right, it looked wrong. He didn't say anything. I keep thinking about how this all started, I continued, with her insulting me, with me staying quiet, with everyone pretending it was fine. It wasn't fine, he admitted. I should have said something. I didn't want to make waves. None of us did. We all just let it get worse and worse until it exploded. So what do we do now? I looked at him, my brother, the person I'd grown up with, played with, fought with, loved, the person who'd chosen his wife over his sister, as he should have, as anyone would. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't think we can go back, but maybe we can go forward differently. How? Honestly, no more pretending, no more staying quiet when things aren't okay, no more letting resentment build. He nodded slowly. Violet would like that, the honesty part. She's been in therapy, learning to speak up instead of lashing out. Good for her. And you? What about you? I'll figure it out. I left before Violet woke up, drove home through snow-covered streets. My phone rang. Mom, your brother called, said you stopped by. I did. Christmas dinner is at 2. You should come. Will Violet be there? Yes, and so should you. We've all made mistakes. Time to move forward. I don't know if I can. You faced her once already this morning. You can do it again. How did you Your brother called. He tells me things. I smiled, despite everything. Fine, I'll come, but I'm not apologizing again. No one's asking you to. Just be there. That's enough. Christmas came bright and cold. I arrived at Mom's house at 1:45 with wine and uncertainty. Violet's car was already there. So was my brother's, my uncle's, my cousin's. The whole family gathered together. I walked in to find them setting the table. Violet looked up when I entered. We made eye contact. Held it. Hi, she said. Hi, I said. And somehow, impossibly, that was enough. Dinner was awkward at first. Everyone talked too carefully, avoided certain topics, laughed too hard at mild jokes. But slowly, gradually, the tension eased. We talked about safe things. Dad's new woodworking project, my cousin's upcoming wedding, my uncle's retirement plans, normal family stuff. Violet and I didn't speak directly until dessert. She was cutting pie when I approached the kitchen. Can I help? She handed me plates. Sure. We worked in silence for a moment. I got a new job, she said. Administrative assistant at a dental office. Nothing fancy, but it's honest work. That's great. I know my place now. No more pretending to be something I'm not. Violet, it's okay. I needed to learn that lesson, even if it hurt. I put down the plates. I could have taught it more kindly. Probably. But would I have learned? We looked at each other. Two women who'd hurt each other, who'd been hurt, who were trying to figure out how to exist in the same family. I don't know if we'll ever be friends, I said. I don't know either, but maybe we can be family. The honest kind. The honest kind, I repeated. I like that. We carried pie to the dining room, sat at opposite ends of the table, made it through dessert without incident. Small victories. January brought new beginnings. The new marketing coordinator started at TechVault. She was eager, teachable, appropriately humble, everything Violet wasn't. I watched her succeed and felt nothing. No vindication, no satisfaction, just relief that Patricia finally had someone competent. My boss pulled me aside in late January. Promotion board is meeting again in April. You should reapply. Will it matter? The Violet situation hasn't changed. But you have. You've shown grace in a difficult situation. You've maintained professionalism. You've moved forward. That matters. I reapplied, told no one, didn't get my hopes up. In February, Violet showed up at my office. I was surprised to see her. Is this okay? Me being here? It's fine. What's up? She sat down, nervous. I'm writing a book about my experience, about failure and pride and learning humility. My therapist thinks it would be helpful. Okay. I wanted to ask permission to include our story, changed names obviously, but the situation. Why ask me? Because it's your story too. Because I hurt you. Because I don't want to hurt you again without consent. I thought about it. What's the message of the book? That sometimes the hardest lessons are the most important. That pride comes before a fall. That family is complicated but worth fighting for. You can write it on one condition. What? Be honest. Don't make yourself the hero. Don't make me the villain. Just tell the truth. She nodded. I can do that. After she left, I felt lighter, like I'd been carrying something heavy, and finally set it down. April came. The promotion board met. I tried not to think about it. Then my boss knocked on my office door, holding champagne. Congratulations, VP of Talent Acquisition. I stared at him. What? You got it. Unanimous vote. They were impressed by your handling of the Violet situation. Said it showed character under pressure. I lost my family over that situation. No, you found out who your family really was. Then you fought to rebuild it. That's leadership. I called my brother first. I got the promotion. That's amazing. Congratulations. Can you tell Mom? And Violet? Of course. We're proud of you. Really proud. That night, my phone buzzed. Text from Violet. Congratulations on VP. You earned it. Not just the promotion, the whole journey. Thank you for teaching me that the hard way. I replied, thank you for learning. May brought a new rhythm. I settled into my VP role. Rebuilt relationships with my team. Started implementing changes I'd been planning for years. Family dinners resumed monthly. Sometimes awkward, sometimes tense, but always honest. We'd learned to say the hard things, to address problems before they festered. Violet and I weren't friends. Probably never would be. But we were learning to be the honest kind of family. One Sunday in June, she asked me to meet for coffee. Just us. We sat outside a cafe, watching people pass by. I finished the book, she said. And I sent it to agents. Got some interest. One wants to meet next week. That's great. I wanted to thank you for letting me tell the story, for being part of my growth, even when it was painful. You're welcome. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you regret it? Any of it? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. The orientation, the PIP, the months of family tension, the lost promotion, the pain on all sides. No, I said finally. I don't regret it. We both needed to learn something. You needed to learn humility. I needed to learn that being right isn't the same as being kind. We hurt each other teaching those lessons, but I think we're both better for it. She smiled. The honest kind of family. The honest kind. We finished our coffee, said goodbye, went our separate ways. I drove home through familiar streets, thinking about how life rarely gives us clean endings, how growth is messy and painful and complicated, how sometimes the people who hurt us most teach us the most important lessons. Violet had insulted my career for 3 years. I'd let her fail publicly and professionally. We'd both been wrong. We'd both been right. We'd both been human. And somehow, impossibly, we'd found our way to something like peace. That evening, I sat in my home office updating my LinkedIn profile. New title, new responsibilities, new chapter. My phone buzzed. My brother. Family dinner next Sunday, your place. We're celebrating your promotion properly. My place? Yeah, Violet wants to cook, as an apology. A real one this time. Tell her she doesn't have to. She wants to. Let her. I looked around my house. Usually so quiet, so peaceful, so lonely. Okay, I said. Tell her okay. Sunday came. My house filled with family. Mom brought flowers. Dad brought wine. My uncle brought his terrible jokes. My cousin brought her new boyfriend, and Violet brought lasagna, homemade, not perfect, but made with care. We sat around my dining table, 7 people who'd nearly broken apart, now finding our way back together. A toast, my brother said, raising his glass. To new beginnings. To honest families, Violet added. To my brilliant daughter, Mom said. Everyone drank. Everyone smiled. I looked around the table. This messy, complicated, imperfect family. Not the one I'd wanted, but the one I had. And for the first time in months, that felt like enough. After dinner, I helped Violet with dishes. We worked in comfortable silence, finding a rhythm. I start my new job tomorrow, she said suddenly. Office manager at a small marketing firm. They know about TechVault. I was honest in the interview. How'd that go? Better than lying. They appreciated the transparency. Good. She handed me a plate to dry. I've been thinking about something you said, about how families should be better. You wrote that in your letter. I know, but I've been thinking about what it means. I think families should be honest and kind, not one or the other. Both. Agreed. I wasn't honest when I pretended to have a successful business. You weren't kind when you let me walk into that orientation blind. We both got half of it right. I set down the plate. So what do we do? Try for both? Honest and kind? Honest and kind, I repeated. I can try that. Me too. We finished the dishes, rejoined the family in the living room, played cards until late, laughed at Dad's bad poker face, groaned at my uncle's worst jokes. Normal, messy, real. As everyone left, Violet hugged me at the door. Thank you for this. For giving me another chance. Thank you for taking it seriously. Hey, my brother called from the car. You two coming to the lake house in August? Violet and I looked at each other. We'll think about it, we said in unison, then laughed at the coincidence. After they left, I stood in my quiet house. Dishes done, family gone, peace settling back in. But this time, the peace didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. The next few months unfolded with surprising normalcy. Work thrived. I implemented new hiring initiatives that cut our time to hire by 30%. My team grew from 12 to 18. The board asked me to present our strategy at the annual shareholders meeting. At home, family dinners continued. Sometimes at Mom's, sometimes at my brother's. Once, even at Violet's new apartment. She was building a real life. Office manager job during the day. Writing her book at night. Therapy twice a week. Small, genuine progress. We weren't close, but we were honest. In August, we all went to the lake house. 3 days of swimming, grilling, and the particular chaos of family vacation. One evening, I found Violet on the dock, watching the sunset. Mind if I join you? She shrugged. It's a free dock. We sat in silence for a while. I sold the book, she said eventually. Small press. Won't make much money, but they believe in it. That's amazing. They want to publish next spring. Want me to do a book tour. Talk about failure and growth and second chances. How do you feel about that? Terrified, but good terrified. Like maybe I have something worth saying. You do. She looked at me. I changed your name in the book. Called you Diana. Made you a lawyer instead of a recruiter. Changed enough details that no one would know. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. This is my story to tell, not yours. You lived it. You shouldn't have to relive it publicly. Thank you. We watched the sun sink lower. Water turned gold, then orange, then deep red. Can I ask you something? Violet said. When I was failing at TechVault, when you were documenting everything, did you ever want to help me? Actually, help me? I thought about the question, really sat with it. Yes, I admitted. There were moments when I saw you struggling, when I knew exactly what you needed to do differently. I wanted to pull you aside and coach you. Why didn't you? Because I was angry. Because you'd hurt me. Because I wanted you to learn the hard way. Was I worth saving back then? I don't know, maybe. But I don't think I was the right person to save you. Because of the history. Because of the history, I agreed. Some lessons we have to learn from strangers. Some we have to learn from family. Ours got all mixed up. Violet nodded slowly. I think I understand now. What you were doing. You were teaching me that actions have consequences. That you can't treat people badly and expect them to save you. Something like that? It was cruel, but it was also fair. I'm not sure those are mutually exclusive. We sat until the sun disappeared completely. Stars emerged. Someone called us in for dinner. Walking back to the house, Violet said, I'm glad we're doing better now. Me too. But I'm also glad you didn't save me. I needed to hit bottom. I needed to fail. It made me different. Better different or just different? She smiled. Ask me in a few years. September brought my 1-year anniversary as VP. My boss took me to lunch to celebrate. You've exceeded every expectation, he said. The board wants to talk about COO track. COO of what? Eventually the whole company. But that's years away. First, we're thinking EVP of operations. Oversee multiple departments. Bigger scope. When? Next year. Maybe the year after. We want you ready. I called my brother that night. They're talking about EVP. That's incredible. You're going to run the whole place someday, aren't you? Maybe. Mom will be insufferable. She'll tell everyone her daughter is a big shot executive. She already does that. He laughed. True. Hey, Violet wants to know if you'll come to her book launch party. When it happens. Next spring. Of course I will. She's nervous about it. About being public with the story. She should be. It's vulnerable. Will you be there? Not just physically, but really there? Supportive? I thought about it. Yes. Whatever our history, she earned this. She turned her worst moment into something meaningful. That deserves support. Thank you. Tell her I'm proud of her. In a weird, complicated way. I will. October brought unexpected news. Patricia was leaving TechVault. Recruited away by a competitor. Huge opportunity for her. Congratulations, I told her during her exit interview. Thanks. It's bittersweet. I've loved it here. We'll miss you. She hesitated. Can I say something? Off the record? Of course. The Violet situation. I've thought about it a lot. How you handled it. And? I think you did the right thing. Not the easy thing, not the nice thing, but the right thing. She wasn't going to learn any other way. That doesn't make it hurt less. No, but it makes it matter more. She stood up. I hope she appreciates what you sacrificed to teach her that lesson. After she left, I sat in my office thinking about sacrifice. I'd sacrificed family peace, my promotion timeline, months of comfort, the easy path, but I'd gained honesty, boundaries, self-respect, the hard-won knowledge that being liked isn't the same as being respected. November brought Thanksgiving again. This time, everyone came to my house. Mom helped me cook, Dad set up tables, my brother handled drinks, Violet made dessert. 17 people crowded into my dining room and living room. Family and chosen family, colleagues who'd become friends, my assistant and her wife, my uncle's new girlfriend. Before we ate, my brother raised his glass, a toast to my sister, who taught us all what it means to have standards and what it costs to maintain them. To consequences and second chances, Violet added, looking at me. To family, Mom said. The messy, honest kind. Everyone drank. I looked around the room. These people who knew my story, who'd watched me make hard choices, who'd stuck around anyway. Thank you, I said quietly, for being here, for being honest, for being the kind of family worth fighting for. Dinner was loud and chaotic and perfect. We argued about politics, laughed at bad jokes, told stories about past Thanksgivings, normal family things. After everyone left, I found a note on my kitchen counter. Violet's handwriting. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for not saving me when I needed to fail. Love, your honest sister-in-law. I put it in my desk drawer with her first letter. Bookends of our journey. December came with snow and holiday parties, work celebration at a fancy hotel, department awards. I won recognition for innovation and team leadership. During my acceptance speech, I talked about the importance of standards, of treating everyone fairly, even when it's hard, of maintaining integrity under pressure. People applauded. Some knew about Violet. Most didn't. It didn't matter. The lesson was universal. Christmas Eve, my phone rang. Violet. Hey, can you talk? Sure, what's up? I just got the cover design for my book. Want to see it? Email it over. A minute later, it appeared. Simple design. Title. The Expensive Lesson. How Failure Taught Me Humility. It's perfect, I told her. The dedication says, for my family, who loved me enough to let me fall. My throat tightened. Violet, I know we're not close. I know we might never be. But I wanted you to know. You're part of that dedication. You let me fall. It was the kindest cruelty anyone's ever given me. I don't know if that's a compliment. It is. Trust me. We talked for another hour about her book tour plans, my EVP track, her relationship with my brother, my dating life, normal sister-in-law things. When we hung up, I realized something had shifted. We weren't friends, but we weren't enemies anymore either. We were family, the honest, complicated, earned kind. Christmas Day brought snow and chaos, kids running around, adults drinking too much wine, someone's dog eating Christmas cookies. Perfect disaster. Violet and I ended up in the kitchen together, washing dishes again. You know what's funny? She said. What? A year ago, I couldn't stand being in the same room as you. Now this feels normal. Time helps. It's not just time, it's work. We both worked at this. I handed her a plate. I'm glad we did. Me too. Through the kitchen window, I could see my family in the living room, laughing, fighting over board games, being loud and messy and real. What you said at Thanksgiving, Violet continued, about family being worth fighting for. I think about that a lot. Yeah? Yeah. I almost gave up. After I quit Tech Vault, after everything fell apart, I thought maybe it was easier to just cut everyone off and start fresh somewhere new. Why didn't you? Because running away doesn't fix anything. It just moves the problems. I needed to stay and face what I'd done, who I'd been. That took courage. Or stupidity. Still not sure which. We both laughed. The new year arrived with typical January cold. Work picked up immediately. Hiring for 50 positions. New diversity initiatives. Board presentations. The machine of business grinding forward. In February, Violet's book tour dates were announced. 8 cities over 2 weeks. Small bookstores and library events. Nothing huge, but real. Will you come to the local one? She asked. It's at that bookstore downtown, February 28th. Of course. And will you maybe, I don't know, help me practice? My public speaking skills are terrible. You want me to coach you? If that's not weird. I thought about it. A year ago, it would have been impossible. Now? Okay, come over Saturday. Bring your talking points. We spent 3 Saturdays practicing her presentation. I was ruthless. Pointed out every and like. Made her cut rambling stories. Taught her to connect with audiences. You're a really good teacher, she said after our 3rd session. Why didn't you go into training instead of recruiting? I do train. Just usually in professional skills, not public speaking. Well, you're good at it. Maybe that's your next move. EVP of Talent and Development, maybe. The day of her reading, I arrived early, front row seat. I watched her set up, saw her hands shake while arranging her notes. When she started speaking, I saw a year of growth. The woman who'd walked into Tech Vault with inflated confidence and empty skills was gone. In her place stood someone who knew her limitations and owned her failures. She read a chapter about the orientation, about seeing me stand up at the podium, about the sick realization of what she'd walked into. I'd spent 3 years diminishing her career, she read. I didn't know she was senior director of anything, didn't know she ran departments, didn't know she mattered, because I'd never asked. Because I'd never seen her as anything but someone to feel superior to. The audience sat silent. And when I realized what I'd done, when I understood how thoroughly I'd misjudged her, I didn't apologize. I got angry. Because that's what insecure people do. We blame others for showing us our own inadequacy. She looked up from her book, made eye contact with me in the front row. The person I wronged is here tonight. I won't point her out. This is my story, not hers. But I want her to know, thank you for not saving me. Thank you for letting me fail. Thank you for teaching me that confidence without competence is just arrogance. And thank you for giving me the chance to rebuild afterward. After the reading, people bought books, asked questions, told their own failure stories. I hung back, watching Violet in her element. When the crowd thinned, she found me. How'd I do? You killed it. I almost cried during the orientation part. I know, I could tell. It was perfect. She signed my book. To Diana, who taught me the expensive lesson, with love and gratitude. I thought you changed my name. In the book, yes. But you know it's really for you. Walking to our cars, she said, thank you for coming, for helping, for being part of this. Thank you for telling the truth. Even the hard parts. Especially the hard parts. We hugged goodbye. A real hug. Not the awkward family obligation kind. The kind that meant something. Driving home, I thought about how far we'd come. From orientation day horror to book reading pride. From enemies to something like friends. Growth is rarely linear, rarely clean. But sometimes, when we're lucky, it's real. March brought news about my EVP position. The board approved the role. I'd start July 1st. 6 months to transition, train my replacement, and prepare for larger responsibilities. My brother took me out to celebrate. Just us. I'm proud of you, he said over beers. Not just for the promotion, for everything. How you handled the Violet situation, how you rebuilt the family, how you've grown. I didn't rebuild the family alone. No, but you held the line when it mattered. You didn't let her bad behavior slide just to keep peace. That took guts. It almost cost me everything. Almost, but it didn't. And now look at you. Look at all of us. We're better for it. I raised my glass to expensive lessons. He clinked his beer against mine. To sisters who teach them. April brought rain and strategic planning sessions. I spent weeks mapping out my EVP transition, who would replace me as VP, how to restructure my current team, which initiatives to hand off and which to take with me. The work was consuming but energizing. I was building something bigger than myself, creating systems that would outlast my tenure. One afternoon, my boss stopped by. The board wants you to present at the shareholders meeting, your journey to EVP, what you've learned, where you're taking the company. When? June 15th, 2 weeks before you officially transition. I started preparing that night, outlined my key messages, the importance of standards, the value of difficult decisions, the strength in maintaining integrity under pressure. I didn't mention Violet explicitly, but her story threaded through everything. The example of what happens when we make hard choices, when we prioritize principles over comfort. May brought final book tour events for Violet. She'd sold 3,000 copies. Not a bestseller, but respectable for a debut from a small press. I got invited to speak at a conference, she told me over coffee, about failure and resilience in business. That's huge. I'm terrified. You'll be great. You've done 8 book readings. This is different. This is corporate people, executives, people like you, especially like me, which means you know exactly what they need to hear. What's that? That failure isn't the end, that humility is strength, that sometimes the hardest lessons teach the most valuable skills. She wrote this down. You should be a speaker too. You're really good at this. Maybe someday. Right now I'm focused on EVP prep. How's that going? Intense, exciting, terrifying. Sounds familiar, she smiled. We're both growing, huh? Just in different directions. That's okay. We don't have to grow in the same direction to grow together. I thought about that a lot over the next few weeks. How Violet and I had taken completely different paths from our shared crisis. She'd gone inward, toward therapy and writing and public vulnerability. I'd gone upward, toward career advancement and leadership development. Both valid, both necessary, both worth celebrating. June 15th arrived bright and clear. I stood backstage at the shareholder meeting, reviewing my notes one last time. My phone buzzed. Text from Violet. Knock 'em dead. You've earned this. We're all proud of you. I smiled and put the phone away. When they called my name, I walked onto the stage with my head high, looked out at 500 shareholders, board members, and employees, and I told them about standards, about making hard choices, about the cost of integrity and why it's worth paying. I didn't mention names, didn't tell the full story, but I spoke from experience. Leadership isn't about being liked, I said. It's about doing right even when right is difficult, even when it costs you, even when it hurts. The applause afterward was thunderous. Backstage, my boss grabbed my arm. That was incredible. The board is ecstatic. You're going to be amazing as EVP. Thank you. No, thank you. For being exactly who we need. Someone who leads with principle. The celebration party that night filled the ballroom. Hundreds of colleagues, friends, and family. Mom cried during the toasts. Dad actually spoke, saying he was proud. My brother gave a speech about watching me grow from annoying little sister to corporate executive, and Violet was there, in the back, smiling. After the formal program, she approached me. That speech was powerful. I learned from the best. You and your book taught me how to talk about hard things. We taught each other. Yeah, we did. She handed me a wrapped gift. For your new office. I opened it. A framed quote. The price of greatness is responsibility. Winston Churchill. Perfect, I said. I figured you'd appreciate it, given everything. We stood together, watching my colleagues celebrate. 2 women who'd hurt each other, who'd learned from it, who'd chosen to grow rather than hide. Thank you, I said finally. For what? For pushing me, for giving me the chance to make hard choices, for showing me what kind of leader I wanted to be. You're thanking me for being terrible to you? I'm thanking you for the journey, all of it, even the terrible parts. She laughed. We're weird. We're honest. It's different. July 1st came with ceremony, official transition to EVP, new office, new title, new responsibilities spanning multiple departments. I moved into the executive suite on the 10th floor, windows overlooking the entire city. My name on the door with new letters. EVP Operations. Mom sent flowers, Dad sent a card, my brother sent champagne, and Violet sent a note. From coordinator candidate to EVP. What a journey. Proud to have been part of it. Love, your honest family. I put it in my desk drawer with her other notes. The collection of our growth. That first day as EVP was overwhelming. Meetings from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Decisions about budgets, personnel, strategy, operations. The weight of it all pressing down. But I'd been prepared. Not just by my VP experience, by the Violet situation, by learning to make hard calls. by understanding that leadership means choosing right over easy. At 8 p.m., I finally left the office. Exhausted, exhilarated, ready. My phone rang. Mom, how was day one? Intense. Good. We're proud of you. The whole family. Thanks, Mom. And honey, I'm sorry for not speaking up sooner. When Violet was insulting you, I should have said something. You did eventually, when it mattered. Still, I'm sorry. I know. I forgive you. After we hung up, I drove home through summer evening light, stopped at my favorite takeout place, ate dinner on my back porch, just me in the quiet. My phone buzzed. Text from Violet. Survived day one? Barely. You? Speaking gig went well, booked 3 more. Look at us. Both succeeding, both terrified. That too. I set down the phone and looked at my yard. Trees I'd planted 3 years ago now tall enough to shade the porch. Garden beds full of vegetables I'd grown from seeds. A life I'd built slowly, carefully, with intention. Kind of like my relationship with Violet. Slow growth, careful tending, intention in every choice. Not perfect, but real. And maybe that was better. August brought family vacation at the lake house again. This time felt different, lighter, less weighted with history. Violet and I took a kayak out one morning, paddled to the middle of the lake, drifted. Can I tell you something? She asked. Sure. I used to hate you. Really hate you. Like, actively wished bad things for you. I know. But I think I hated myself more. And you were just easier to blame. That's pretty self-aware. Therapy helps. She trailed her hand in the water. I'm writing another book. About what? About rebuilding. About what comes after failure. About second chances and the people who give them to us. Am I in this one too? You're in all of them. You're the person who wouldn't let me slide. Who demanded I be better. Even when I hated you for it. That's a heavy role to play. But someone had to play it. And you were the only one brave enough. We paddled back in silence. Sometimes growth doesn't need words. September brought my first major crisis as EVP. Product launch failed. Hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. Teams pointing fingers. Board demanding answers. I spent 3 days in emergency meetings, untangling what went wrong, who was responsible, how to fix it. The answer wasn't simple. Multiple people had made mistakes. Systems had failed. Communication had broken down. I could have blamed one person, made an example, protected my own reputation by sacrificing someone else's. Instead, I took responsibility, publicly, to the board. This happened on my watch. These are my departments, my systems, my failure to ensure proper oversight. The room went silent. But, I continued, we're going to fix this. Here's my plan. I laid out new protocols, better communication systems, clearer accountability chains, a complete restructuring of how we launched products. The board approved it all. 2 members pulled me aside afterward. That took courage, owning it like that. Someone had to. Most executives would have thrown someone under the bus. That's not leadership. That's cowardice. Driving home that night, I thought about Violet, about how she'd owned her failures, how she'd stood in front of audiences and admitted her mistakes, how that vulnerability had made her stronger. I'd learned from her too. October brought unexpected news. My boss was retiring. The CEO position was opening up. You should apply, he told me over coffee. I just started as EVP 4 months ago. And you've already proven yourself. The board loves you. The product launch crisis showed your leadership. Apply. I don't know if I'm ready. No one's ever ready. But you're capable. That's different. I thought about it for weeks. Talked to my brother, my mom, my team, and finally, reluctantly, to Violet. We met for lunch at her suggestion. You're actually considering it? She asked. Maybe. I don't know. It feels too soon. Why? Because I just got EVP. Because I haven't proven myself yet. Because you're afraid? She cut me off gently. I get it. Big promotions are scary, especially when they come faster than expected. You're one to talk. You went from total failure to published author in a year. Exactly. And I was terrified every step. But you know what I learned? What? Fear means you understand the stakes. It means you care. It means you're taking it seriously. Don't let fear stop you from trying. When did you get so wise? Around the same time you let me fail spectacularly. I applied for CEO. The process was grueling. Multiple interviews, board presentations, strategic planning documents, months of evaluation. During it all, work continued. The product launch issues got fixed. New systems proved effective. My department started hitting targets consistently. In December, they made the announcement. New CEO starting January 15th. It wasn't me. They went external. Someone with 20 years CEO experience at a competitor. My brother called as soon as the announcement went public. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was a long shot anyway. But you deserved it. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, I gave it my best shot. What happens now? I keep being an amazing EVP. I learn from the new CEO. And maybe in 5 years, I try again. That's it? You're not devastated? I thought about it. A year ago, I would have been. But I've learned something about failure. What's that? It's just information. It tells you where you are, where you need to grow, what to work on next. You sound like Violet. She's been a good teacher. That Christmas, Violet gave me a copy of her new book manuscript. I want you to read it before it gets published. Make sure I'm being fair. I read it in 2 days. It was good. Really good. Honest and raw and wise. She'd written about me again, but this time, with understanding. About how I'd held the line, how I'd demanded excellence, how I'd refused to save her because saving her would have prevented her growth. For the woman who loved me enough to let me struggle, she'd written in the dedication. You showed me that real family doesn't rescue. They witness. They support. They demand we rise to meet our own potential. I called her crying. It's beautiful. You think so? I know so. When does it come out? Next fall. I'm going on a bigger tour this time. 12 cities. I'll be at every local event. You don't have to. I want to. New Year arrived with snow and strategic planning. The new CEO started mid-January. She was brilliant, decisive, demanding, everything a CEO should be, and she wanted me on her leadership team. You're exactly the kind of EVP I need. she told me in our first one-on-one. Someone who makes hard calls, who doesn't compromise standards, who leads with integrity. Thank you. I heard about the Violet situation. My stomach dropped. You did? Came up in my due diligence. Several board members mentioned it, said it showed your character. That could be interpreted multiple ways. They meant it positively. You treated a family member like any other employee. You maintained standards despite personal cost. You chose right over easy. And that doesn't concern you? Why would it? I want executives who lead with principle. You've proven you can do that. Over the next few months, I learned from her, watched how she made decisions, how she communicated, how she handled crises, CEO skills I'd need eventually, and slowly, the sting of not getting the job faded, replaced by gratitude for the learning opportunity. Violet's book came out in September, launched to better reviews than her first. Sold 10,000 copies in the first month. Publishers Weekly called it a masterclass in turning failure into wisdom. Her book tour was bigger this time. Venues sold out, people lined up for signings. She was becoming known as a speaker on failure and resilience. At her hometown event, I sat front row again, watched her command a room of 200 people, saw how she connected, how she made vulnerability look like strength. During the Q&A, someone asked about her biggest influence. She didn't hesitate. My sister-in-law. She taught me that sometimes the most loving thing someone can do is refuse to save you. She let me fail. She witnessed my struggle, and then she helped me rebuild, but only after I'd learned what I needed to learn. After the event, we went for coffee, just us. Thank you for saying that, I told her. I meant it, every word. I'm proud of you, how far you've come. Back at you, EVP. How's the new CEO? Brilliant, terrifying, I'm learning so much. When will you try for CEO again? 5 years, maybe 7, when I'm really ready. You'll get it eventually, maybe. Or maybe I'll find something else, something better. Like what? I don't know yet. But I'm learning to be okay with not knowing. She raised her coffee cup. To not knowing. To expensive lessons. To honest family. We clinked cups and drank. Outside, snow started falling. First snow of the season, clean and fresh and new. Kind of like us. Starting over, building something better. Being the honest kind of family. Not perfect, but real. And maybe that was always the point. The years that followed brought continued growth. I stayed as EVP, learning from our CEO. Violet's speaking career took off. She became a regular on the conference circuit, published a 3rd book, started a podcast about failure and resilience. My brother and she seemed solid, happy. They'd weathered their own storm and come out stronger. Mom and dad aged gracefully, still hosting family dinners, still the center of our messy, honest family. And Violet and I, we became friends. Real friends. Not just family obligated to tolerate each other, people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. We had coffee monthly, texted about random things, supported each other's wins, commiserated over losses. 5 years after the orientation, we sat at a cafe near my office. Same cafe where she'd asked me about CEO the first time. Remember when you hated me? I asked. Remember when you let me fail spectacularly? Good times? We both laughed. Can I tell you something? Violet said. Always. I'm grateful for all of it. The failure, the humiliation, the growth, even the pain, because it made me who I am now. Me too. It taught me about boundaries, about standing firm, about the cost of integrity. We're both better for it. Definitely different. Better and different. We finished our coffee, went our separate ways. Her to a speaking gig, me to a board meeting. Different paths, different goals, different dreams, but the same commitment to honesty, to growth, to being the kind of family worth having. And really, what more could anyone ask for? 10 years after the orientation, TechVault promoted me to CEO. The board vote was unanimous. The announcement made local news. My team threw a massive party. Violet sent flowers with a card. From coordinator candidate to CEO. Told you you'd get there eventually. So proud. Love, your biggest fan. At my first shareholders meeting as CEO, I told the story. Not with names, not with specific details, but about a time when I'd had to choose between family comfort and professional integrity. When I'd made the hard call. When it had cost me almost everything. And how those lessons had shaped me into the leader I'd become. Leadership, I told them, is about standards. About choosing right even when right is hard. About understanding that sometimes the most loving thing we can do is demand excellence from people who are capable of more than they believe. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. That evening, my whole family came to my house. Mom, Dad, my brother, Violet, my uncle, my cousins, everyone who'd been part of the journey. We ate, we drank, we told stories about the past decade, the failures, the wins, the growth, and when everyone left, Violet hung back. Thank you, she said. For what? For the orientation, for the PIP, for not saving me, for letting me become who I needed to be. Thank you for learning, for growing, for showing me that people can change. We hugged. A real hug, full of history and hope and hard-won respect. We did good, she said. We did, I agreed. She left. I stood in my quiet house. CEO, leader, sister, friend. The journey from that first family dinner insult to this moment had been long, painful, worth it. I'd learned that being right isn't enough, that kindness without boundaries isn't kind, that sometimes love looks like saying no, that growth requires struggle, that family is something you build, not something you're given. And most importantly, I'd learned that the most expensive lessons are often the most valuable, because they teach us who we really are, and who we have the courage to become. I poured myself a glass of wine, stood on my back porch under the stars. Tomorrow I'd be CEO. Tomorrow I'd lead thousands of employees. Tomorrow I'd make decisions that impacted millions of dollars. But tonight I was just me, someone who'd made hard choices, who'd survived the consequences, who'd built a life worth living, and that was enough, more than enough. It was everything.